In this video, you'll learn how to specify the desired number of pages as you create a new file and how to add pages to and remove pages from an existing project. With the latest version of InDesign CC open, choose File, New, Document. This will display the New Document dialog box. Yours may look different than what you see here, and that's okay. We want to create a 4-page flyer that will be printed, so choose Print. This configures things correctly for a typical print document, such as the color model, default measurements, and document presets. Then choose Letter for the preset page size. Note that there are a number of preset page sizes to choose from, as well as a number of templates that you could use as a starting point for your design. Also, deselect the Facing Pages option. Selecting this option displays left-hand pages next to right-hand pages, similar to the interior layout of a magazine. That's not what we want to do in this instance, so we're deselecting this option. Notice that right here, InDesign is asking me for the number of pages I'll have in my document. Now, don't get too hung up on this, because depending on what you're creating, you may or may not know how many pages will be in your project. If you're creating a postcard, you'll probably have 2 pages, one for the front of the card and another for the back. If you've been quoted a price from your printer for printing a 4-page newsletter, you'll have 4 pages to fill, no more and no less. But if you're creating a recipe book that you're going to print in your office, or a document that you're planning to distribute as a PDF, then your page count is probably flexible, and you'll add pages as you need them. You can enter any value you want in this field and then add more pages later as needed. In this case, go ahead and enter 4 for the number of pages. Leave the rest of the settings at their default values, and then click Create to create a new 4-page InDesign file. Initially, InDesign only shows you the first page of the new document. To see how many pages are in this document, you can use the Pages panel. If the Pages panel isn't visible on your screen, choose Window, Pages to display the panel, and you'll see a thumbnail for each page in the document. Next, let's add some pages to an existing file that already contains some page content. You can close this file by choosing File, Close without saving. Open this practice file from the downloadable practice files for this tutorial. In the Pages panel, double-click on page 3 to display that page in the document window. If we had more content to add to this document, we might want to add 2 new blank pages between pages 3 and 4. To do this, choose Layout, Pages, Insert Pages. Fill in the dialog box specifying that we want to add 2 pages after page 3. Then click OK. You can see in the Pages panel that 2 new blank pages have been added to this document. Now double-click on page 2 to show that page in the document window. Sometimes you'll want to duplicate an existing page if you need 2 pages that contain similar layouts. Let's add a new page 3 to this document by duplicating page 2. There are several ways to do this, but one easy way is to drag the page 2 thumbnail onto the new page icon at the bottom of the Pages panel and then release the mouse. This adds the page to the end of the document. Drag the page up to the right of page 2 in the Pages panel to put it between pages 2 and 3. Let's learn how to delete pages. We've decided we don't need page 6, which is blank, and page 7, which contains some design elements, after all. To delete these pages, double-click on page 6 to show that page in the document window. Then hold down the Shift key on the keyboard and click once on page 7. You'll see both page 6 and page 7 turn blue in the Pages panel, indicating they're selected. Then click the Trash icon at the bottom of the Pages panel. Because page 7 contains a photo and some text, InDesign warns us. Click OK and the 2 pages are deleted. Adding pages to a document is something that you'll likely need to do quite often. As we've learned, you can do this as you create a new file or using the Pages panel at any time as you are designing your pages. Guides in InDesign make creating pages easier, faster, and more accurate. In this tutorial, we'll learn about margins and column guides. With InDesign CC open this practice file from the downloadable practice files for this tutorial to follow along. If your Pages panel isn't visible on the screen, choose Window, Pages. In the Pages panel, you can see that this is a 3-page file. To turn to page 2 and display it in the document window, double-click on the page 2 thumbnail. When you create a new document, you have the opportunity to specify any margin and column guides that you want, and then these guides appear on all the pages of the document. This page has half-inch margins, as indicated by these magenta lines. But the text frames are just sitting in the middle of the page, without any relationship to the margin guides. Whoever created this document just specified one column with half-inch margins, which for this design isn't useful. Double-click the page 3 thumbnail, and you'll see that the page 3 layout is similar. But again, no guides are in place to help position the text frames. If you were going to create more pages with additional content, you'd likely want the frames on those pages to be arranged similar to these, but that would be tedious without some guides to help. Let's fix this. First, I want to select pages 2 and 3 of this document. To do this, double-click on the page 2 thumbnail to display page 2 in the document window. Then hold down the Shift key and click on page 3. The thumbnails for pages 2 and 3 will both turn blue to indicate that they're selected. Now, to change the margins and column guides on these pages, choose Layout, Margins and Columns. We don't want InDesign to move our text and images as we change the margins and columns, so deselect the Adjust Layout option if it's selected. We want to be able to enter separate values for the top, bottom, left, and right margins. So if your chain link icon doesn't look like this, click on it to break the chain. Then enter 1.25 inches for the top margin, 1.75 inches for the bottom margin, and 1.5 inches for the left and right margins. Enter 2 for the number of columns, and half an inch for the gutter, the space between columns. Then click OK. Now double-click on the page thumbnail for page 2, and then page 3, to display each page in the document window. You should see that pages 2 and 3 both have identical margins and column guides. And these guides are in locations that are useful for the unique layout of these pages. The guides will help us precisely position the text and image frames on each page. Go to View, Grids, and Guides, and note that there's a check mark next to Snap to Guides. As long as this option is checked, any page item that is within 4 pixels of a guide will be magnetically snapped to the guide. This way, you don't have to be so ultra-precise when positioning items. To display page 2 in the document window, double-click on the page 2 thumbnail in the Pages panel. On this page, we want to drag the edges of each of the text frames to the nearest guide. To do this, click on the Selection tool, the black arrow, click on one of the frames, and then drag a side handle to the nearest guide. The Snap to Guides feature makes it easy to be accurate. Repeat this for each of the text frames and the image frame on this page. Turn to page 3 by double-clicking on the page 3 thumbnail in the Pages panel. Resize the elements on this page to also snap to the guides. But on this page, I want the 2 columns of text to be different widths. That's okay. Margins and column guides in InDesign are merely suggestions. You can override them anytime you wish. So let's arrange these items like so. There you go. Now all the items on pages 2 and 3 have a unified, consistent look as you turn from page to page. Get in the habit of using margins and column guides, and you'll be able to design and lay out your pages quickly, consistently, and accurately every time. Master pages are really helpful for creating consistency throughout a document for things like page headers, footers, and other repetitive page elements. In this tutorial, we'll learn how to create and modify master pages and how to apply master pages to document pages. With InDesign CC open, open this file from the downloadable practice files for this tutorial to follow along. To see thumbnails of the pages in this document, you can use the Pages panel. If your Pages panel isn't visible, choose Window, Pages to display the panel. You can see that the Pages panel is divided into a top section and bottom section by this horizontal line. Pages above this line are master pages, and pages below the line are document pages. Every new document that you create from scratch always has one master page called a master, and that master is automatically applied to all of the document pages. The little A displayed on each of these document page thumbnails indicates that master page A is applied to that document page. In other words, content we put on the A master page will automatically appear on those document pages. Typically, master pages should contain margins, guides, and design elements that you want to appear on multiple pages. These items don't need to appear on every document page, but if you have several pages that all need the same margins, columns, footer text, or header artwork, it's worth setting up a master page for those pages. This document needs to have colored bars in the footer area of each page. Instead of drawing them on each page, you'll add one to the master page. To work with a master page, come to the Pages panel and double-click on the thumbnail for the A master. This displays the A master page in the document window. These guides were specified in the New Document dialog box as the file was initially created. Now let's add that simple color bar as a footer that we want to appear on most of our document pages. Select the Rectangle tool in the Tools panel and draw a rectangle across the bottom of the page about a ½ inch high. To change the color of the rectangle, we'll use the Properties panel. If your Properties panel isn't visible, choose Window, Properties to display it. Then click the Fill icon in the Properties panel and choose this yellow color. Because this yellow bar is on the master page, it will automatically appear on every document page that has this master page assigned to it. Let's take a look. In the Pages panel, turn to page 1 of the document by double-clicking on the page 1 thumbnail, and you'll see that the yellow bar is now on the bottom of page 1. Turn to the rest of the pages, and you'll see that the yellow bar is on each of those pages also. Now, I want some of the pages in our document to have a red footer bar instead of a yellow bar. To make this easy, let's create a second master page. We'll do this by duplicating the A master page and then changing the duplicate. Duplicate A master by dragging the A master thumbnail onto the New Page icon at the bottom of the Pages panel and then release the mouse. This will create a master page named B master that is an exact duplicate of the A master, and it displays the B master page in the document window. You might need to drag this divider here down a bit so you can see all of your master pages. Now, to change the color of the rectangle, select the Selection tool in the Tools panel, and then click on the yellow bar at the bottom of the page. Change the color to red using the Fill icon in the Properties panel. Now, let's see how to apply master pages to your document pages. Turn to page 1 of the document by double-clicking on the page 1 thumbnail in the Pages panel. I don't want the yellow bar or the red bar on page 1, so you can apply the master page named None to this page. Drag the None thumbnail onto page 1 to apply no master to this page. When a black rectangle surrounds the page thumbnail, release the mouse button. The A is removed from the page thumbnail and the yellow bar is removed from the page. Turn to page 3 of the document by double-clicking on the page 3 thumbnail in the Pages panel. To apply the B master to page 3, drag the B master thumbnail onto the page 3 document thumbnail. Release the mouse button when you see the black rectangle surrounding the page thumbnail. Now page 3 has the red footer. Creating master pages that contain page elements that are used over and over again makes creating multi-page documents quick, accurate, and efficient. When you add content to a master page in your document, those items will appear on any pages that have that master page assigned. But you can't select master items on document pages. What if you do need to edit these items on specific document pages? Let's take a look. With InDesign CC open this file from the practice files for this tutorial to follow along. Initially, InDesign shows you page 1 of the document in the document window. To see all the document pages and master pages in this file, you can use the Pages panel. If this panel isn't visible, choose Window, Pages to display the panel, and you'll see a thumbnail for each page in the document. Let's begin by examining the master page in this file. To see the master page, double-click the A master icon to display the A master page in the document window. Note that this master page contains two items, a red rectangle at the top and a yellow rectangle at the bottom of the page. Because an A is displayed on the page 2, 3, and 4 thumbnails in the Pages panel, we know that the A master page is applied to pages 2 through 4 of this document. To turn to page 3 of the document, double-click the page 3 thumbnail in the Pages panel. Now I think this page would look better if the header rectangle was black and the yellow rectangle were red. To change the colors, we first need to select the rectangles with the Selection tool. Select the Selection tool in the Tools panel, and then click on the yellow rectangle. But this doesn't work, does it? Note the faint dotted border on the yellow rectangle. This indicates that it's a master page item, and master page items can't normally be selected on document pages. This is usually a good thing because it means you aren't going to accidentally move or delete them, and the whole point of master page items is to help you be consistent from page to page. But thankfully, if you do want to delete or change master page items on a document page, you can override or unlock them. To do so, click the menu icon in the corner of the Pages panel to access the panel menu, and then choose Override All Master Page Items. Because page 3 is selected in the Pages panel, all the master page items on that page are overridden and can now be selected. So click to select the rectangle at the top of the page, and change the color to black using the Fill drop-down in the Properties panel. Then select the rectangle at the bottom of the page and change the color to red using the Fill drop-down. Turn to page 2 by double-clicking the page 2 thumbnail in the Pages panel. This will display page 2 in the document window. On this page, I want to remove the footer rectangle entirely, but leave the header rectangle untouched. So I don't need to override all the master page items, only the footer rectangle. You can easily override individual master items on a document page. To do this on a Mac, hold down the Command and Shift keys and click on the yellow rectangle. On Windows, hold down the Control and Shift keys and click on the yellow rectangle. This will override just this item. Then, to delete the rectangle, choose Edit, Cut. Let's turn to page 3 again. To do so, double-click on the page 3 thumbnail in the Pages panel. This will display page 3 in the document window. Now, I've changed my mind about this page. I want to put the header and footer rectangles on page 3 back the way they were, as they are on the master page. To do this, you can reapply the master page to the document page. To do so, in the Pages panel, drag the A master thumbnail onto the page 3 thumbnail. Release the mouse button when you see the black outline surrounding the page thumbnail. This will restore the master page rectangles on page 3 to the colors they were previously and lock them again. Let's do the same thing for page 2. First, double-click on the page 2 thumbnail to display page 2 in the document window. Then drag the A master thumbnail onto the page 2 thumbnail, releasing the mouse when you see the black outline. This will restore the rectangle at the bottom of the page. Master pages give us a way to add consistent elements like headers, footers, and page numbers to our documents. But for those times where you want certain pages to be different, now you know that you can override items on individual document pages. When you create a new document, you specify what page size to use. But sometimes you might need to change the page size after you've begun work on a file. In this video, you'll learn how to change the page size of all the pages in an existing document or individual pages. If you want to follow along, open this file from the practice files for this tutorial. Initially, InDesign displays page 1 in the document window. To see all the pages in this file, you can use the Pages panel. If the Pages panel isn't visible on your screen, choose Window, Pages. And in the Pages panel, you'll see a thumbnail for each page in the document. This is a 2-page design for a postcard, front and back. In order to see what size the pages are, you can open the Document Setup dialog box. To do this, choose File, Document Setup. You can see that this is a 6-inch by 4-inch document. After designing this postcard, we realized that we really need it to be 8 by 6 inches. We can easily change the page size of all the pages in a document in this Document Setup dialog box. Change the width to 8 inches and the height to 6 inches. And then check the Preview option. Note that the page size in the document window has increased, but the size and position of the objects on the page didn't change. InDesign's default behavior is that all the objects on the page are pinned or stuck to the center of the page, and the page size increases or decreases relative to the center of the page. So it's up to you to resize and reposition the text and images on each page as you see fit. However, if you click Adjust Layout, a dialog box appears that will prompt you for a new page size, and then InDesign will attempt to adjust the content to fit the new page size in a suitable way. Again, change the width to 8 inches and the height to 6 inches. So that InDesign can scale the type up as needed, select the Adjust Font Size option and then deselect the Set Font Size Limits option, and then click OK. Double-click on each page thumbnail in the Pages panel, and you'll see that InDesign did a pretty good job of resizing and repositioning the objects on each page to accommodate the new page size. But what if you need to create two sizes of this postcard, both the original 6x4 inch size as well as the new 8x6 inch size? It would be convenient to have both sizes in the same file so that you can easily reuse colors, images, and other assets between them. To learn how to do this, let's return to the original version of this file and start over. To do this, choose File Revert, and then click the Revert button when prompted. The first thing we want to do is duplicate the two pages of the postcard. To do this, click the Page 1 thumbnail in the Pages panel, and then hold down the Shift key and click the Page 2 thumbnail to select both pages. Now grab either one of the page thumbnails and drag it to the New Page icon at the bottom of the Pages panel, and release the mouse. This will create a duplicate of both pages. But of course the duplicates are the same dimensions as the originals. We want them to be different, so we'll change their size next. To display the new Page 3 in the document window, double-click the Page 3 thumbnail in the Pages panel. Then hold down the Shift key and click the Page 4 thumbnail. This will select Page 3 and Page 4. Then, to change the size of these pages, click the Edit Page Size button at the bottom of the Pages panel and choose Custom. Change the width to 8 inches and the height to 6 inches, and then click OK. If you're watching the thumbnails in the Pages panel, you might be surprised as it doesn't appear that pages 3 and 4 are any larger than pages 1 and 2. This is because the page thumbnails in the Pages panel are always displayed at a similar size. To see the actual difference in page sizes, choose View, Entire Pasteboard, and then choose View, Zoom Out as many times as necessary so that you can see all 4 pages. Now you can see that pages 3 and 4 are larger than pages 1 and 2. And like our earlier example, it's up to you to resize and reposition the text and images on pages 3 and 4 to work with the new page size. Now you know how to change the size of all the pages of a document, or just selected pages, and you can do this at any point in your design process. With InDesign, you should rarely need to eyeball the position or size of an object in your document. InDesign has numerous tools and features to help you precisely align, position, and resize objects without resorting to guessing or squinting. With InDesign CC open, open this file from the practice files for this tutorial to follow along. Initially, InDesign displays page 1 in the document window. To turn to page 2, click the Next Page arrow in the bottom left corner of the screen. Like the Pages panel, you can use these arrows as a way to navigate between pages in your document. I think it would look better if the tops of each of these photos were aligned vertically. We can use the Align widgets in the Properties panel to do this, but first we need to select each of the photos. Select the Selection tool, and then click on one of the photos. Be careful not to click the circular content grabber in the center of the image. Then hold down the Shift key and click on each additional rectangle until all 5 are selected. If the Properties panel isn't visible, choose Window, Properties. By default, the alignment commands in the Properties panel align selected objects to each other. To ensure that this is going to happen, click here and choose Align to Selection. Then click the Align Top Edges button to align the tops of all the rectangles. Notice that all of the images align to the top edge of the topmost object. To display page 1 on the screen, click the Previous Page arrow in the bottom left corner of the screen. I want the right side of these 3 text frames to be aligned. This time we'll use InDesign's Smart Guides feature to help us with this. To enable Smart Guides, choose View, Grids and Guides, and look at the Smart Guides option. If this option doesn't have a check mark next to it, choose Smart Guides to enable it. If it's already checked, then just click away from the menu. The exotic frame is positioned exactly where I want it, and I want to line up the other 2 frames directly below this one so that their right edges align. Drag the family frame below the exotic frame until you see a vertical green line appear when the right edges are in perfect alignment. Release the mouse. Repeat the process for the adventure frame, but this time watch not only for a vertical line that indicates the right edges are in alignment, but also watch for vertical arrows that indicate that the gap between the top 2 frames is the same as the gap between the second and third frame. When both these visual cues appear, release the mouse button. Finally, I want to make all 3 frames the same width as the top frame. Click the family frame to select it, and then drag the middle handle on the left side of the frame to the right until you see horizontal arrows appear, indicating the frame is the same size as the exotic frame. Repeat the process for the adventure frame. The alignment widgets in the Properties panel and InDesign's Smart Guides feature make quick work of positioning objects. Try using one of these methods the next time you need to precisely align or resize objects on your page.